Okay, so this is the second code breakdown, and in this case, we're going to go over some code that deals with an age limit output function, where you put in an age, and then depending on the conditions you give the argument, it determines if you are old enough to, let's say, ride the ride, or you could do something else. And you can use this function for setting up classes in a few later tutorials. So the code is kind of clustered together, and there's a lot of comments around the necessary portions, so I'm going to limit those comments. Okay, so with those comments eliminated, we can begin talking about the code. So the first section, line 1, imports the print function from Python 3.0. In this case, it's Python 2.7, and we're importing it from the 3.0 so that when we print it, we don't have any, it looks better, and it doesn't have any parentheses around the print strings or anything like that. Line 3 is setting up the function as it defines age underscore limit underscore output and the parentheses and the colons. Now inside of that we have the variable age, which is a variable you can have. So when you whenever you run a function, you can put in parameters into that function. If you don't put any parameters though, there's going to be an error, because for this you've required one parameter. Line 4 is another type of comment that I forgot to delete, and you can actually do a comment with 3 quotes on one side of a string and then 3 quotes on another side, and whatever is inside, actually it could be a string, it could be anything, whatever's inside, commented it out. And this works really, really well with larger lines and a lot of lines of code, because it can cover a lot of lines. Like the hashtags can only cover one line. So the variable age underscore limit is set to 13, and then in line 6, if age, which is whatever you typed in, is less than age limit, which is 13. So if whatever you typed in is less than 13, you print the line below that, which is age, whatever age you put in, is below the age limit. So in this case, it's actually taking in a variable, two different types of variables. It's taking in an integer, age, and a string is below the age limit. And then with the comma, it kind of just puts them together and prints them all together. But they're actually two types of data types. Now the else statement under that means if the top part is not true, then anything else gets done, gets carried out. And in this case, it just prints whatever age is old enough, and then prints the minimum age is the age limit that we defined. So it just prints those two functions. Now you can see that it doesn't matter for line 10 if you were a greater, less than, or equal to 13, because that is not indented, and so that's outside of the if statement and outside of the else statement. So that just happens after everything else in the code. So that's when it prints that line. Okay, so now let's run the program. So we ran the program, and as you can see at the bottom, line 5, ln5, it ran, but you still have to import a function and import all the function stuff. Okay, so I imported an age of 5, and it does what it should do and says 5 is below the age limit, and then gives the minimum age is 13, and that's how it runs. Now I imported the next one, and it's I imported the number 20. 20 is greater than 13, and so it does what the else statement had to do, and then it just prints the last thing. And another thing to think about is that if you print the age limit is 13 and you print 13, it actually does the else statement, because the condition is if age is less than age limit. So you can be equal to or greater than age limit, and you will still do the else statement. So you have to be very careful. If you wanted some programs to be less than or equal to, you need to make sure that's the operation you use. Okay, so the next major topic we'll be discussing into the tutorials series is arrays, and then a week after that or so, we will be discussing classes and objects, and then even eventually arrays of objects. So stay tuned and subscribe and comment.